Hello class. Today we're working on Chapter 1, Lesson 4, Fractions and Decimals. This is something that you might use in the future if you were ordering, say, meat, like at the deli when you go to the grocery store. The scale at a deli often uses decimal measures. You can convert between fractions and decimals to make sure you're receiving the correct amount. So, how do you write fractions as decimals? You write a fraction as a decimal by dividing the numerator by the denominator. So to understand that, you have to know what the numerator and denominator are. The numerator is the top number in a fraction, and the denominator is the bottom number. I remember it because denominator starts with a D, and so does down. D, down, the bottom number. So the words you want to fill in this next sentence is to convert a fraction to a decimal, you divide the numerator by the denominator. A decimal that stops or terminates is called a terminating decimal. So here's an example of a terminating decimal. 4/25, so 4 is the numerator, 25 is the denominator, so therefore we're going to divide 4 divided by 25. So you might write it like this. 25 goes into 4. Well, it can't happen like that, so we're going to do a decimal, add a 0. 25 goes into 40 one time. 25, subtract it out, is going to equal 15. 25 can't go into 15, bring down another 0. 25 goes into 150 6 times. So it stops right there. Therefore, it is a terminating decimal. When you do 6 times 25, it equals 150, and that equals 0. We'll just get that out of our way. The fraction of nitrogen in a chemical sample is 5/8. Write the fraction as a decimal. So we want to see how many times 8 can be divided into 5. Try to zoom right here. 8 divided by 5. Add a 0. Decimal point here. 8 goes into 50. 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. Subtract. Going to equal 2. Bring down another 0. 8 goes into 23 times. Oh, just kidding. Let's try 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract that. 4. Bring down another 0. 8 goes into 45 times. 5 times 8 is 40. Equals 0. It is a terminating decimal. So 5/8 is equal to the decimal point 625. So if the same block of digits in a decimal repeats without an end, the decimal is a repeating decimal. So an example would be if it was 5.35555555555, and it goes on and on and on forever. So you can write that 5.35 and put a line over the top of the 5. That means the 5 just keeps going and going. It's a repeating decimal. So let's look at writing repeating decimals. So we have 3/11, or 3 divided by 11. So the numerator is the 3, the 11's the denominator. We are going to divide the denominator into the numerator. Does not work. Gonna do add a 0, add the decimal point, 22. Going to equal 8, 80, 7, 77. Oops, look at what's going to happen here. I didn't mean to do that decimal point there. 30. 11 goes into 32 times. 22. 11 goes into 87 times. Keeps going and going. So we can go 3 over 11 equals 0.27. The line's gonna go over the 2 and the 7 because both the 2 and 7 repeat. It's just gonna be 0.27, 0.2727272727. Okay, so then, and I didn't finish writing here. Write 5/9 as a decimal. 5/9. So we're going to take 9, divide it into 5, add the 0. 5 times 9 equals 45. 5, 0. Oops, look at what's going to happen here. 5 times 9 equals 45. Okay, repeat. So 5/9 is going to equal 0.5 with a line over it. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. So now we're going to write a decimal as a fraction. So our first challenge is to write 1.325, so 1 and 325 thousandths as a mixed number with a fraction in simplest form. 0.325 is equal to 325 over 1,000. So that's why I said it like that, 325 thousandths. Then we could put the 1 in front of it because 1 is the whole number. So it would be 1 and 325 thousandths. And now we need to make that simplest form. So if we divided each side, or the top and the bottom, both by 25, hoping that that's the biggest number, we will get that it is equal to 1 and 13. 325 divided by 25 is 13, and 1,000 divided by 25 is 40. And that cannot be divided any smaller. 13 is a prime number, so really nothing else goes into it. Here are some quick check problems. You are welcome to try them on your own. Press pause on the video and then come back and see if you've gotten them correct. The first one, you are going to have 1 and 364 over 1,000. To reduce that fraction to lowest form, simplest form, let's start out by dividing each, the top and the bottom, by 4. 364 divided by 4 is going to equal 91. And 1,000 divided by 4 is going to be 250. Put the 1 in front of it. And that is the lowest or simplest form. Okay, the second one, you are going to have 2, and then it is 48 hundredths. So 48 over 100. And so we could start by dividing by 2. Whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom. So we have 2 and 24 over 50. Oh, and that looks like it can be divided by 2 again. So we should have divided by 4 to start with. So then we have 2 and 12 over 25. That cannot be divided any smaller. Then we have 3 and 6/10. So 6 over 10. Perfect. Let's reduce that. Let's divide by 2. We are going to get 3 and 3/5. If that's what you got them correct. Okay, so now we're going to talk about ordering fractions and decimals. To compare fractions and decimals, you can write the decimals as fractions or the fractions as decimals. You decide which is easier for different numbers. And I'm sorry, on your notes, they are incorrect. It should be 2, 2.55, and 2 and 6/18. So we have 1 that's a fraction. So we want to turn that into a decimal so that we are able to compare them and understand exactly what they all either need to be fractions or they all need to be decimals so that it's easier to compare. So to turn that into a decimal, we are going to reduce it to lowest form. So then we will have 2 and 6/18. 6 goes into 18, so if we divide the top by 6, we divide the bottom by 6. So then we get 2 and 1/3. So then we want to divide 3 into 1. The denominator needs to divide into the numerator. And when we do that, you get 2.333333. So it's just going to be a continuous decimal. So we have the number 2, the number 2.55, and 2.3. So if we're ordering from, and do pay attention because this will switch, greatest to least, the biggest number is going to be the 2.55. So 2.55, and then 2.3, and then the number 2 is the least, the smallest number. Looking at the next one, order from greatest to least. So let's turn our two fractions into decimals. You can go ahead and try this on your own and then come back to me and see if you got it correct, if you would like the challenge. Okay, so if we take the first one, 1 3/8, and divide the denominator into the numerator, so 3 divided by 8, it equals 1.375. The next one, we have 1 divide 7 divided by 15 equals 4.466666, keeps going, and then we have 1.862. So we want to look, and it does say from the greatest to least. So the biggest number, ones are all the same. 8 is going to be the biggest number. So from greatest, it's going to be 1.862. The next one is 4 is bigger than 3, 1.46 with the repeating decimal, and the smallest 1.375. Okay, so looking at our questions down here, what is the difference between a terminating decimal and a repeating decimal? So a terminating decimal stops, it terminates. And whereas a repeating decimal has a block of digits that repeat without end. Number 2, is a remainder of 0 the same as no remainder? Yes. In each case, the number is divisible by the other. Okay, so these I'd like you to try to do on your own and then check back in and be sure that you got the correct answer. So write each decimal as a mixed number or a fraction in simplest form. So you'll want to start out with 1/375 over 1,000, because it's the thousandths place. And that is going to be divisible. Both of them are divisible by 25. Then it can be reduced down farther by another 5. So 5 goes into 15 3 times, 5 goes into 48 times. So that is going to be 1 3/8 is the fraction. 0.44, you should have taken 0.44 and turned it into 44 over 100. We can start out by dividing each by 2 or even 4. Both of them can go into 4. 44 divided by 4 is 11. 100 divided by 4 is 25. That cannot be reduced any farther. Your answer is 11/25. And your last one down here, 3 and 99 over 100. That's as low as it can go. So that is your answer. So is 3.0300300030003 a repeating decimal? Explain. No, that's not a repeating decimal. The block of digits is not the same. They're not repeating. And our last question, order the following numbers from least to greatest. So we need them all to be the same. So since more of them are decimal points, let's turn them all into decimals. So if we take 1 1/3 and divide the 3 into the 1, you are going to get 1.33333. So we're going to just put as a repeating decimal. Okay, so then as we're looking here, we want it to be from least to greatest. So the smallest number first. Well, the smallest number is going to be, this one doesn't even have a 1 or a 2 in the whole number. So that's going to be our smallest. 0.0, oops, not correct. 0.5 is the least. And then we have 2 that are 1, 1.9, 1.3. 1.3 is smaller. Then we have 1.9. And then we have the number 2. However, 1 1/3 was the actual number, so we really should be using that as this number. So that you are just taking these numbers and putting them in order. So on a separate note, please complete the following homework. Page 24 and 25, numbers 9 through 35 odd.